The Hisense L9Q versus the PX3-PRO. The real question here is not which one looks bigger on paper. It is whether the extra brightness and larger screen ceiling on the pricier L9Q actually pay off in your room, or if the PX3-PRO already covers what most people need, without the premium. Overpaying hurts, but so does dimming out in a bright living room. Let's make it clear. Brightness. This is where the gap shows up first and hardest. The L9Q is rated at 5,000 ANSI lumens. The PX3-PRO sits at 3,000. On paper, that sounds like both are bright. In a real living room with a window open at 4 in the afternoon, it's a different conversation. The L9Q is straight up one of the brightest USTs you can buy right now. Independent measurements actually meet or exceed Hisense's claim, and reviewers consistently describe it as usable even with sunlight filtering into the room. That changes how you live with it. You're not closing every blind to watch a Sunday game. The PX3-PRO also punches above its rating, measuring closer to 3,300 lumens in tests, and it looks fantastic in a dim or moderately lit room. But push it into bright daylight on a 120-inch ALR screen, and it starts to give ground. Even reviewers who love the PX3 admit it's not the one you pick to fight direct sun.
Here's the real trade-off. The bigger the screen you want, and the less you can control the light, the more that L9Q brightness premium earns its keep. If your room has decent control, and you live around a 100-inch image, the PX3 has more than enough punch.
Now picture quality, because brightness alone doesn't make a good image. Both use triple laser engines, both cover roughly 110% of BT 2020, both support Dolby Vision, HDR10+, and IMAX Enhanced. Color out of the box on the PX3 leans slightly warm, but after small tweaks, it lands beautifully accurate. And several pro reviewers say it surpasses Hisense's contrast claim, measuring well above 6,000 to 1 in real conditions. That's impressive for a DLP UST. The L9Q goes wider on color volume, thanks to the upgraded laser engine and Pantone validation, and skin tones look natural without much fiddling. Where it's a mixed story is black levels. It's a bright projector, and that brightness comes with slightly elevated blacks compared to what you'd expect at this tier. There's an opinion floating around from an early buyer who returned a unit citing color uniformity issues, and it's worth knowing that exists, but it doesn't show up as a pattern across pro reviews. What does show up consistently? Rainbow effect can be more visible on the L9Q for sensitive viewers, especially on a plain white wall. An ALR screen mostly tames it. For pure cinematic black levels in a fully dark room, honestly, the PX3-PRO has the more refined contrast performance. For HDR impact, peak highlights, and color volume on a giant screen, the L9Q pulls ahead. Different priorities, different winners. Screen size and installation. The L9Q goes from 80 up to 200 inches, with a throw ratio dropped to 0.18, which means you can land a massive image from inches off the wall. The PX3-PRO tops out at 150 inches. For most living rooms, 100 to 120 is the sweet spot, and both handle that easily. But if you're building out a media room, a loft, or you've got a long wall begging for 150 plus, the L9Q is the only one of the two that scales there with brightness to back it up. There's a review from someone using the L9Q at the full 200 inches in a great room, and they describe the experience as immersive, courtside feeling stuff. At 120, the PX3 delivers nearly the same wow factor for a lot less money. Match the projector to the wall, not the other way around. Quick word on gaming, because the PX3-PRO actually wins this one outright. It's the designed for Xbox model. Hits 240 Hz at 1080 with input lag under 5 milliseconds and around 18 milliseconds at 4K 60. The L9Q matches it at low resolutions, but lags more at native 4K. If gaming is a real part of your week, the PX3 is the more gaming-forward pick. Price and value. The two are not in the same range. The L9Q sits roughly double the PX3-PRO. What you're paying for is the brightness ceiling, the larger screen capability, the DVLA-tuned audio, and the more aggressive color volume. The PX3-PRO covers the 80 to 120 experience with HDR support, gaming chops, Google TV, and Harman Kardon audio that several owners say makes a soundbar feel optional. The L9Q tends to hold its price firmer being a newer flagship product. The PX3-PRO, having been out longer, sees more frequent discounts, and that gap can widen during sale events. Same brand, same DNA, very different rooms in mind. Here's the call. For most of you walking into this comparison, the PX3-PRO. At roughly half the money, it covers the 80 to 120 experience that fits most living rooms, and the picture quality holds its own against the flagship. Smarter buy for the majority. If your room fights ambient light, or you want a 150-inch image and beyond, no fluff, the L9Q is the only one that actually delivers it. And if gaming is a real part of your week, Xbox or PS5, the PX3-PRO wins that one outright. The PX3-PRO has been out longer and shows up in sales more often, so it's worth waiting for a drop. And you, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. both linked below with the current price.